People who fix computers, laptops. What's the worst thing you found on someone's computer? Bed bugs in an overheating HP DV6K about 8 years ago. Used to work at a repairs and refurbish center. We worked on consoles and laptops. For laptops. Child PRN. Happened maybe 3 times while I was there. Police are immediately called. For consoles. Cockroaches. None alive thankfully, but man. Just systems full of hundreds of cockroaches. Some of them fried on the board. The smell is even worse. We don't work on those. Even when it's working. For health and safety reasons. We bag those and throw it out. Some other common strange errors. Pet hair caught in cooling fan resulting in overheating. Consoles full of sand. Do you guys bring your console to the beach? Sticking stuff in the disk drive. Found $1 once. As well as Wind Waker in an X360. Not on. But in. A guy I know that fixed computers for a living, years ago, had a customer bring in a computer stating that the floppy drive had stopped working. When he opened it up, he found cockroaches mashed against the read-write heads in the drive. He said he just closed it up and left it on the front step for the guy to come and retrieve. Floppy drive. I don't think you stressed years ago enough. Father-in-law got a new computer and wanted stuff transferred over. His old computer had viruses and ran like shitty. Due to this, I tried to figure out what actually needed transferring rather than just transferring everything after cleaning it up. Stumbled upon pictures of him and dragged him getting a DLDO shoved up his ass. Why do people insist on large thumbnails? Why? I worked for my university's IT department in the laptop depot, so we basically would do any repairs on students, faculty, staff's laptops. We had this really solid warranty with Dell where they were 100% covered for 4 years. Even including intentional misuse, we saw all sorts of laptops full of dust. Smoke. Beer, wine, liquor. They would always say they spilled juice on their laptop. I got to the point where I could replace a motherboard on a Latitude D630 in under 5 minutes. The only time I ever saw a laptop that we refused to repair was one dude who barfed all over his. My boss just put on rubber gloves, put it in a plastic bag, and mailed it to Dell to be replaced. Now imagine the poor FK who opened that. I bet they were having a good day too. Buddy on my floor freshman year worked at the college help desk. A guy, who I actually knew through another friend, brought his computer in to get fixed. He was adamant about saving what was on the hard drive. My buddy saw some interesting file names and decided to look further. It was Kiddie PRN. Dude went to jail. My buddy had to testify at trial. Someone once brought in a cooler to the repair shop. I was completely confused. Asked awkwardly if I could help the guy. Guy opens the cooler and hands me a freezing laptop that's keyboard is literally bowed out because of the ice that formed in the motherboard. Apparently the guy spilled water all over his computer and his friend told him to put it in the freezer so it would turn into a solid. Dumbest thing I have ever experienced. Edit. A 20-year-old friend's mother was going through her husband's laptop to fix some virus issues and found videos of their daughter, my friend, getting changed, taking showers, etc. on the laptop. Apparently the husband-dad had hidden cameras in their daughter's room taking inappropriate videos of her for years. He's in jail now. But I can't imagine how that felt, finding out that her own father that she loved and trusted was betraying her in the sickest way for most of her life. Edit. I looked up the news article about it and I was mistaken when I said he was in jail. He had a 9-month conditional sentence plus 2 years of supervised probation and had to participate in programs for sex offenders. My co-worker asked me to fix his computer and I agreed since he was a nice guy. Turns out it was actually his 13-year-old son's computer. As soon as I got it I knew it was a bad idea. It was disgusting. Covered in food particles and a white crusty residue I'm hoping wasn't preteen jizz. It wouldn't even boot up when I turned it on. But I managed to get inside with Windows Startup Repair. As soon as I logged in, I saw dozens of torrented video games and hundreds of GBs of PRN. Oh boy. I ran a virus scan and it removed so many files that it corrupted the hard drive and prevented the laptop from booting. I spent over 20 hours trying to recover the hard drive, but it was royally FK'd. I gave the laptop back to him after I was able to get it booted and agreed to stop fixing PCs on the side. It wasn't preteen just silly. He was 13. Oh boy. The last company I worked for. I got a laptop back from one of the sales guys who was complaining that his computer was slow and kept crashing. He was the sort of guy who, rather than raise a ticket, sends an email with the entire exec team copied in about how he couldn't do his job because IT were incompetent. etc. etc. Well, I got his laptop from him and noticed the hard drive was completely full. Most of the sales stuff is web-based, so there was no reason for the local drive to have anything on it. So, I had a look. Expertly hidden on his hard drive in a folder called work stuff was over 300 GB of naked pictures and videos of himself. Literally thousands of pictures of him naked. Videos of him dancing naked. Videos of him shoving things in his ass. One extremely awkward meeting with the guy's manager later. He was quietly let go. All I'm getting from this thread was that I was very innocent when I was 12. I hooked up with a girl from work and she asked me to fix her laptop. I found her wedding photos on there. Always check the ring finger, guys. Child PRN. I turned it to the authorities and had to sign an affidavit. However, it was a small town and the judge was his cousin. He got off. My car was vandalized soon after. I don't think there's one good word in this one. At my old job, some kid, prob 17 or 18 at the time, brought in his Asus gaming laptop for us to clean up. The thing was riddled with malware. Some of the files we had to manually delete. And when we went looking, we found something interesting. He had hours of SX tapes with him and his girlfriend. Also keep in mind that this is when Windows 8. One was new and the photo tile on the start menu cycled through saved content. When the kid came to pick up the laptop, the Photos app showed a preview pic with his GF-SAS and his penis clearly inside her. We quickly flipped the laptop around, claiming that we forgot to re-enable something and turned off the live tile feature so that the pics would show up. None of us that worked on the laptop said a thing to the kid or his dad when they came to pick it up. I've seen some pretty gross stuff on people's computers. But the absolute worst was finding child pornography. I wrote about it on a post in Art Alice from Tech Support. Long story short, guy accidentally overwrote a partition on his hard drive. I performed a drive recovery and was confused to find a bunch of images with random file names. I thought that the recovery had failed. So I checked the files to see what they were. Police were called. I had a bad day. Though not quite as bad as the computer's owner, I suspect. I was fixing my sister's laptop because she said there was a virus running slow despite being new at the time. You know what I found? Almost 2 gigs of Mario Peach Rule 34. My sister was 7 at the time. I'm still confused by it. Almost 5,300 pieces of virus, malware and spyware. I don't look at their files. My friend's dad used to fix up old computers and laptops. And one day he told us about this time this elderly man came into his shop to get his old desktop fixed. So he drops it off. And immediately my friend's dad notices it smells off, and I mean very off. So he goes to fix it, and when he pops open the side, you not 20 cockroaches climb out of this thing and scatter away. On the inside is this rotten piece of meatloaf left over which has turned moldy black and gross. My friend's dad said he almost threw up in the moment and they had to call an exterminator to kill the roaches. He called the elderly man back to tell him about his computer troubles. Apparently the old man had dementia or something and thought the computer was a fridge. And he had stored his leftover meatloaf in there. Needless to say, they did not fix his computer. Used to work at a small computer repair shop. Every now and then you'd find PRN or something like that. Nothing too unusual. The worst part was usually the physical state of the machines. As a courtesy, the shop I worked for would always blow the dust out of systems that came in. Smokers' computers were the worst. Years of tar and dust buildup just would not come loose. There was one system that as soon as we opened it, we saw dozens of roaches inside. We quickly closed up the case, taped up all openings, stuck it in a bag and fumigated it. There was this other time that a customer brought their system in for weird performance issues. Turns out that their cat puked through in the side vent all over the motherboard. Customer wanted to pay for us to clean it rather than replace it. Doctors for some reason have the weirdest computers. Maybe because they are desensitized to normal humor or human interaction. A friend that was working on one in particular said that every icon on the desktop was of Emmanuel Lewis. You know, Webster. His background too. His picture folder was filled with pictures of Webster too. Super creepy. But technically not illegal. 15 plus toolbars that took up half the screen. Edit. The inside of a heavy smoker's computer is beyond disgusting. It creates a fine orangish film that coats every single internal component. Smells wretched. And will become a noxious cloud if you try and blow it off. Just go outside to smoke. Seriously. Was doing IT at a law firm. Saw a folder called literally C. Dirty pics. Immediately opened folder. I mean, come on. Saw pics of almost every secretary in the firm naked. Did the secretaries seem to be aware they were being photographed? Child PRN on an executive's laptop. He was acting mighty suspicious when I was cleaning his computer and nervously looking over my shoulder. But then almost by the grace of the heavens, he stepped out for a moment and the virus scan went to where his collection was with common SXX and the words PTHC and yo equals 5-14. I hid the scan in Systray. Aborted the temp file cleaning to mitigate the chances of destroying evidence. Snuck off into the restroom. And made the call. The guy was arrested within the hour, especially since the police station was only up the street, and even the FBI got involved. Edit since it's become a frequently asked questions. PTHC equals preteen hardcore. Just about every single file within that folder had it. I wish I could go through life without learning that word. But when it shows up 50 plus times for seemingly large video files, I had no choice but to Google what it meant. I personally like to think it means pathetic. Not me, but a guy I used to work with. He found pictures of the owner dressed up as a baby and getting coke cans shoved into his ass. Edit. After reading more of this thread, I realized that the question was intended to be geared towards malware, weird user practices, weird hardware failures, etc. Whoops lol. However, this is still a legitimate answer because it is definitely the worst thing I've heard of being found on someone's computer. Edit 2. Actually, after checking back and I see that I'm not alone in answering the question with gross stuff. Windows Vista. Norton antivirus. Her nudes. Apparently her clit is pierced. Good for her. Back in 2002 I worked at CompuServe and we ran across a horde of child pornography on a customer's computer. The guy was actually hosting an entire site from his system. A search history of a 13-year-old kid. His mom brought his laptop in because it needed cleaned up. A search history that started pretty normal for someone getting into the whole PRN watching thing like lesbians humping and doggy style. As time went based on the timestamp of the searches. It only took 3 weeks to go from this to big black gangbang and granny squirters. Further on past these searches we got aggressive face F-king, which I feel is redundant since that seems to be an aggressive act by nature, and the most recent search I found was guys jerking off. So he went the whole spectrum from semi-normal searches to gay PRN. My brother works on laptops and one time a guy came in to get Windows 8 put on his computer. This man was an old family friend, and while he was backing up files he found a video of the man's daughter. I won't go into details of what it is, for the sake of keeping my blood pressure down. But my brother immediately alerted the authorities and the man is now serving a 12-year prison term. He's just lucky my brother was at his place of business. Or I believe he would have killed him instead of calling the law. I opened a laptop once and the background picture was a buff naked dude in the shower. I just looked at the guy and said, "Could you change your desktop? It's making me feel inadequate." I don't fix computers for a living. But my first home computer was one that used to belong to my dad. He did not do a very good job deleting his old files and I stumbled upon his PRN collection. I wish I hadn't. Dad is apparently a perv. Haha. Is that a list of all the files on my computer? Whoa. Good thing it's scrolling too fast to read. Then it stops dead on bathtub. MPG. And we make the most awkward, prolonged eye contact in my life. My friend is a 10-year brother who wanted his computer fixed. It wasn't anything major. And all I had to do was clear and back up his files. I then decided to clear his history. Because that can sometimes be a thing that slows your computer down. So I opened it. There was a ton of PRN in his history. Mainly really messed up hentai. Worst of all, he caught me looking at this shit. He got mad at me. And we never brought it up again. 10-year brother. Ton of PRN. And everyone acted surprised. Does what I found in the keyboard count? I used to work in IT support for a hospital. One of the PAs said her computer wasn't typing properly anymore. Called up. Swapped out the keyboard and took the defective one back to the office. On examination, and after discreetly chatting with one of her colleagues, what we found was genuinely years of food particles under the keys. So many crumbs from hundreds of break time muffins and sandwiches had been dropped under the keys and compacted by typing that they couldn't be removed without a screwdriver and serious effort. We just dumped it into the medical waste incinerator. I found some shady stuff on a company's server and brought it to their HR manager's attention. A response led me to end our business with the company that day. She really wasn't interested in hearing about it and told me that if I ever wanted to work for another company not to say anything or she would blackball me by calling every other large firm in the area. Long story short, I found proof that an employee was stealing from the company by taking royalties from a vendor that deliberately botched a project and was charging the company every month to fix it. One time a woman shipped her laptop to me to have it fixed from a satellite office. It just stopped working, she said. When I opened the box and took it out, a bunch of red wine leaked out of the case onto the floor. It's the worst thing that I found because I hate red wine. Well, I was asked to work on 2 laptops. One belongs to the lady's son and the other her daughter. Daughter's machine was alright. Just some tuning up. Son's machine. Well, I expected a 12-year-old to be looking at PRN. But not. Dog PRN. I don't mean furry. Just straight dog PRN. Edit. Highest amount of upvotes is from a comment about bestiality. I'm so grateful. Guy wouldn't give his password for a security conversion. Eventually he coughs it up. It is Lisa says 15. Naturally me and the other guys start joking around about who is Lisa. Some of us bet his wife. But others think his admin assistant. Because he was so shy about it. We got a pool going about it. Someone had money on mistress. I went with admin assistant myself. So we go to the company page for his advisor office, which has a little blurb about the staff. No Lisa. My co-worker goes. Must be the wife then. And goes to the biography page, which usually has the advisor's family on it. I yell over my shoulder. What's the verdict? Man. The guys are all just groaning at whatever it said. So I get up and go over and look. There is a family photo with a caption. Guy. Pictured with wife Stephanie, 38. And daughter, Lisa, 15. We reported it to compliance. Just pics of her and her boyfriend. Grade 10, I did an internship at a software place. Owner gives me a computer to fix something on. Says it's his son's computer. Well, what do you know? Boot up and there's a folder on the desktop leading right to a video of a lady being FK'd by a horse. My CEO's nudes. First day of the job. GF at the time. We dated for about 6 months. She told me her computer was really slow and asked if I could clean it up. While cleaning it up, found her SX videos of her and her ex. Yeah, that wasn't a very good day. TL. DR. Glue. Sequin. And grease. Plus a lot of viruses. In a con I was partially organizing. The PC hooked to the main screen, on which every single performance of the day, be it cosplay, music, or the karaoke program, had to be uploaded, fried at the start of day 2/3. In desperation, I had to send my laptop to the slaughtering ground. 21,396 viruses detected. Then 3,402 malware spywares detected in the Malwarebyte scan. One of our partners, a professional French music syndicate, had so many viruses on their USB key my antivirus apparently crashed when they put it in. It took me an entire week to clean the software. And 3 more days to clean the hardware from the mix of cosplay glue, sequin and glitter. And for some odd reason, grease.